we have a cultural obsession with a very specific kind of origin story. The brilliant rebel who decides the system is holding them back, ditches the classroom and builds an empire. Think of a young William Henry Gates III, walking away from Harvard to tinker with software and ultimately co-found Microsoft, or Steve Jobs leaving Reed College, and Mark Zuckerberg launching a social media giant from his dorm room before packing his bags. These stories are incredibly sticky. They convince us that leadership requires innate, rule-breaking genius, or that we need a C-suite title on a business card to actually matter. But the reality is far more grounded. The majority of the world's most successful leaders are highly educated graduates. Billionaire Michael Bloomberg holds degrees from Johns Hopkins and Harvard Business School. Mukesh Ambani, who built India's most valuable company by market value, carries a chemical engineering degree. As Senator Cory Booker points out, leadership is not a position or title. It is action and example. Leadership is simply the ability to influence people toward a specific goal. How you generate that influence depends entirely on which toolkit of power you use. Let's start with the most common archetype you'll encounter in the workplace, the transactional operator. This style relies strictly on formal systems of obedience. This visualizes their core methodology, the classic carrot on a stick. Subordinates carry out their duties because they are motivated by direct rewards or the avoidance of punishments. The strength of this leader comes entirely from position power. That means their authority is granted exclusively by their formal job title. They use legitimate power to assign tasks and reward power to hand out bonuses. The flip side is coercive power, the authority to recommend punishments. A supervisor might threaten to demote or terminate an employee to enforce compliance. It might sound rigid, but this archetype is vital for keeping a business running. It produces consistent, predictable results and maintains day-to-day order. Contrast that with our second archetype, the charismatic visionary. These leaders are driven by imagination and a willingness to take personal risks, often believing in their own vision over existing protocols. They bypass the organizational chart by tapping into personal power. Specifically, they use referent power, influence that stems from the genuine admiration and respect of their followers, independent of a formal job title. Look at Martin Luther King Jr., the historical embodiment of the charismatic visionary. This excerpt captures his profound communication skills. He was able to move the masses and drive a nationwide civil rights movement through the sheer force of his personality and words, without ever holding a formal position of power over the people he led. When an organization or society faces urgent, uncertain changes, charismatic leadership becomes essential. People need to actively want to follow a vision to push through the unknown. The final archetype takes that shared vision a step further, the transformational inspirer. Their goal is to get people to naturally want to improve themselves and the organization. While charismatic leaders are often focused on their own ideas, transformational leaders are follower-centered. They prioritize assessing and satisfying the needs of their team. Look at Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos. These founders scaled global empires by empowering their workforces to share and execute a massive vision. In politics, Barack Obama utilized this style to inspire collective empowerment, using a shared vision of progress to rally a diverse base of supporters. Transformational leaders achieve greatness by acting as ideal role models. They prove that true influence comes from genuinely valuing the people doing the work. Effectiveness depends entirely on your specific environment. There is no single correct leadership style. Scaling a biotech giant like Cyrus Poonawala's Serum Institute requires transformational empowerment to drive continuous innovation. But if a company is facing sudden bankruptcy, you need a charismatic risk-taker to rally the troops. Conversely, running a high-stakes factory floor or a strict operational team requires the procedural consistency of a transactional operator to keep everyone safe and on track. This is where we draw the line between management and leadership. Management is the act of planning, budgeting, and maintaining predictability. True leadership produces useful change and aligns people toward a new vision. You do not need to wait for a promotion or a new job title to start leading. By leveraging your personal power,
your expertise, your empathy, and the respect you earn from your peers, you can become a leader in your organization today.